test. So,
If it's red, if this is red and this is red, you should be good to go. Like just to speak.
hello.
Is it? Is it? All right, if Buddy says it's okay, we'll go. I'm going to call this meeting to order of the San Joaquin Valley Insurance Authority. Welcome, everybody. We're going to start our meeting this morning with a Pledge of Allegiance, led by my friend, Mr. Buddy Mendez.
Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our next item is roll call.
Good morning. Director Brandow. Director Magsig.
Here.
Director Mendez. Director Macari.
Here. Director
Pacheco. Director Shaklian.
Here?
Director Vanderpool.
Not here. Okay, our, let me see here. I didn't wear my glasses. Approval of agenda, is that right? Our next item? Or the consent calendar? Which? Okay. Approval of agenda? Do I have a motion? to approve?
I'll move.
So moved by Director Magsig, second by Director Mendez. Roll call vote? No, we don't need to do that? Okay. Okay, public comment. This is a time. Oh,
Aye.
aye. Okay, motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Gotta love county council. Our next item is public comment. This is the time that members of the public may comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the SJVIA, not appearing on the agenda. Is there anybody here today that would like to speak for public comment? So please state your name for the record.
My name is Hez Maynard. I also have something for you. Sorry. My name is Hez Maynard. Can I get a Santa helper?
Clerk,
For each of you.
or, okay,
Or can I bring it to you? I've got more for you guys too, so. But we gotta start here first.
well, I'm intrigued. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead and open it.
Okay. It's not gonna blow up. You know, I don't know. Did we raise rates? Oh, very nice. Charity, a beacon of hope.
All right. The reason I'm here today is I did work at the Fresno County at the sheriff's office, main office downtown for 7 years. I just recently resigned. Went into Medicare insurance full time. But while doing that, a lot of my clients, you know, they're having issues with their prescriptions. Some of the plans don't cover some of it's still kind of high, they change and things like that. So I'm always on the lookout for a way to help. So I ran across this card in the company, Charity RX, and having worked already with the county, I thought, you know what, I know a lot of the people down there, and I know they could use something like this. What it is, it's a discount prescription drug card. It works for human beings. It will work for pets, for pet medications, if they have them there at the pharmacy. If it's prescribed over-the-counter items and things like that, there's discounts. Now, this is not a end-all, be-all. Okay, it's not going to save you money on everything every time, but it will on some. I had a client in Madera. She was calling me, let me know her prescription for gabapentin was going up to $50 for every 3 months on the new plan. Well, there wasn't anything I could do about it. The plan is what it is. I gave her this card. We went online, put in her prescription. It's going to save her half of what she would have been paying at a pharmacy she already goes to. So this is the benefit that this can be to the employees of Fresno and Tulare County. And so I want to just offer it to you. I was a little bit late getting on the agenda. You know, there's no cost for the card. It's only good if you use it, because it's going to save you if you use it. But you can go online and see ahead of time how much it would cost and where it would be the cheapest pharmacy-wise. The other part of it is, you notice in the name there, it says charity. This company was built to not only save people money, but then also put money back into other services and other charities. The Humane Society is one of the ones that they've sponsored. Every month they choose a different charity. They gave 900 backpacks to the foster children program, these kinds of things. So that's some of what you'd be supporting. You'd not only be helping your employees, at least potentially, but also every time it's used, there's going to be money given to charity too. So you get to give and give and give. So that's what I have for you today.
Thank you for sharing that very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Okay, then we'll move on to the approval of this consent calendar, which is items 15 through 20. If nobody wants to pull anything, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, is there a second? I have a motion by Supervisor McCary, second by Director Mendez. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Oh, look who decided to join us.
Oh, come on.
Nice shades. Okay, motion passes. Our next item is to receive an update from Auditor Controller on cash flow projection.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Matt Blanks with Fresno County.
Good morning. I'm Rochelle Garcia from County of Fresno. I'm the Division Chief for Financial Reporting and Audit, and I have Matthew here, who's the assigned accountant for SJVIA. We're here to give an update on the cash flow projections, and then I'll also give an update on the financial reporting.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's a little difficult to see there. Cash flows are holding steady with what we've projected out over the last 3 months there. Really fluctuating between kind of 28 million to 32, 33 million with their inflows and outflows. Our weekly PPOs averaging around 1.05 million. And then our current amount, sorry, is enough to cover our reserves. Oh, sorry. All right. Yes, sir, do you want me to- Okay. Our debt obligations, current debt obligations, sorry, for our IBNR is 8,855,820. Our 3-month stabilization rate is 18,344,990. We still have the 7 million from the Gallagher settlement, giving us a total of 34,200,810. And our current cash position as of November 28th was $34,797,895.
At the end of the report,
That will
Okay.
be for the cash flow.
are there any questions? Yes.
Yeah, so just obvious, but I want to get this on the record. Since your cash projection for 6/30 of 2023 is 35,722, 289, you continue to see us trending where revenues we receive are going to exceed payments that we're going to be making. Is that a correct statement?
Correct.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions? This is an informational item, so thank you very much. And, oh,
I just want to update board about the status of the financial report as of for June 30, 2022. Currently, we're still in the process of working with our auditors. We're pulling some items that they are requesting. So we're thinking of maybe about February is when it will be officially presented. So at this time, that's the current update that we have.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next item is to receive an update from the Auditor Treasurer on, oh, that's the next one. Got it.
Good job, Andy.
That was number 7. Well, you got me all flustered coming in late, so. got me distracted. So now we will move on to item 9, which is another informational item, which is to receive the consultant's medical, dental, and vision experiences report through September 2022. Warden?
Good morning, Borden Darm with AP Keenan. I'll go straight to the consulting report, the first page thereof. We continue to see costs exceeding the premium on the medical program on the self-funded portion. And that's just one, it is a big portion of our program, but overall we are still accumulating reserves as well to the overall program, like the auditor validated. Currently we're sitting through September at a 2.8 million deficit on the year. Of that, 462,000 is County of Fresno, and 2.3 million is County of Tulare. Most of that activity, we have been hit with substantial large claimants, and that is where a majority of this lies. This has been an unusual year. When we give the year wrap up, after we have December data in, we'll show you comparative to other years. This is just, we've had an extraordinary year. Part of it may be due to people delaying surgeries, processes that during the COVID era they couldn't do. Others, just a matter of living. We are looking at a variety of different programs to look to control, because we do know that we have some unhealthy lifestyles that we can hopefully correct. Sorry about that. So not correct, but hopefully get it to have a less effect on the medical plan. So overall, I think the important thing is County of Fresno is sitting at about 101.2% loss ratio. 100 or below is what we want. The County of Tulare is at 111.4, which is very uncharacteristic, and we'll watch that very closely going forward. And then overall is about 104.7% for the SJVIA.
Borden, a quick question.
Yeah.
Is one of the reasons that Fresno is so much lower, didn't we put some money in to offset some COVID-related costs? Is that reflected in these numbers?
I have not yet added those numbers in.
So that's excluding that
That's
then?
excluding
Okay.
that, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that would be added in, and that would put Fresno in a more favorable position as well, too. So on the dental is developing a surplus, about $317,000 for County of Fresno, $111,000 for County of Tulare, such that we have about a $428,000 surplus there. That offsets the 2.8 million, such that our self-funded program, medical and dental combined, is about, well, just under 2.4 million. Our vision plan is insured through VSP. We like to report on it because it's worth looking at to see should we ever self-fund it. But if we were to self-fund, we'd save ourselves $56,000, and it's not a significant, large enough amount, in my opinion, to say let's self-fund this program, because we do run the risk on the other side as well too, and so forth. In addition to that, I'll go to the very last chart that we have, which kind of shares some of the other items. If you look at the bottom of that chart there, we see the actuals. So additional revenue amounts has been on the County of Tulare. We have two margins on Kaiser as well too. We have our normal margin that we apply to the Kaiser, and then we have the EPO parity, which we'll be looking to remove for next year as we develop more experience on the other EPO plans that we added. But that added approximately $600,000 in margin. And then our prescription drug rebates, those are 4 rebates that total about $2.7 million, which represents rebates through the first quarter of this year. So we still have 3 rebates that, or actually 2 rebates, and once December closes, a 3rd rebate that we'll still be getting. Each year, we've progressively gotten better in our rebate amounts. Part of it is due to increased usage of specialty drugs, which is not necessarily good. But in the same token, we've also negotiated better contracts for rebating as well too, such that for next year we actually are expecting that those 4 quarters will earn us closer to about $3.8 million, so about $1 million increase. Okay. Any questions on the experience report? Net, we're at about $989,000 in margin surplus. We're budgeting about $4.2 million. We're not going to hit that amount. We're about 22.9% of that budgeted margin. If you ask me what the difference is obviously the adverse claims that we've seen. But it's good to know that despite the adverse claims, we're not necessarily in a huge hole. We're still in a surplus position.
So one of my questions has to do with the fact that I want to make sure we're not relying upon rebates and different, I don't want to call them gimmicks because it's all part of the total pool to offset high health claims. I know we have to be very focused on being proactive with our employees to affect positive lifestyle changes, but I also want to make sure that we're charging premiums that are sufficient enough to cover actual costs incurred and not relying upon rebates and other financial incentives that can offset higher claims, because then I think that we're never going to get to the point where we're truly incentivizing better lifestyles.
Yeah. You know, and here's kind of the tricky part and all that, if you will. You know, it's 20% of your population incurring 80% of the cost. So if we increase rates to reflect the health care without the rebates and so forth, there's about 80% of the population that's unjustifiably carrying a burden for the other 20. So we try to minimize that and the rebates are always going to be there. So that's going to be part of it. And there's other sometimes windfalls. In the next report, we received a stop loss credit back from us, which is about $200,000 from 2019. That was discovered under audit that the company did. So, you know, there'll be events like that'll always happen as well too. We can or cannot take those into consideration. Typically, we don't, but we take it for reserving purposes. But there is. If I look at the large claim experience, some of the notables are we do have some cancer patients, and I think the other one is it's unhealthy pregnancies, which is typically they are premature babies, meaning for them, you know, some are unavoidable, but others are because of an unhealthy person getting pregnant, not being able to be healthy enough to carry the baby full term, and thus causing a significant cost to the plan. And you know, $400,000 or $500,000 is not unusual for that. So we're looking very closely how we can help and assist and incentivize people to do those type of things, and hope to be back to you real soon on some recommendations around that, because we got to get them healthier.
Gordon, are you going to talk about the high-cost claims? Can I make a comment?
Yeah, sure, you can.
Just to address the high-cost claims for Tulare County. So, for example, we have about approximately 58 claims over $50,000, totaling $6.2 million, and only one of them hit our stop loss. So we do have quite a bit of high-cost claims, but none of them reached the stop loss for us to get reimbursed back for the excess amount. So I think that's something that we need to be looking into as far as what exactly is causing some of these high-cost claims. Borden did mention about pregnancies, but we do have quite a bit of COVID-related claims that did cost quite a bit of money, still not hitting the stop loss, but that enough for us to at least take that out and consider whether that's going to be a going forward type of issue. We have quite a bit of cancers, leukemia, kidney, diabetic illnesses. So we do have large claims, but not enough to get reimbursed by the stop loss.
And thanks for that detail. I mean, I get it. That's what insurance is for. It's there to protect you and to cover those, unbearable costs as an individual. But we've got to just be more. I've always tried to really prioritize healthy strategies and changing lifestyles, because that's how we're going to ultimately limit those. I mean, I get it, cancer and things like that, we're not going to be able to solve that beast, but for those that are preventable, we need to really focus on that.
What Pete's trying to say is he wants to do that walk challenge again between Fresno and Tulare County.
We are scheduling that for the spring, just so you know. And that concludes my report.
Any more questions of Borden? Okay, looks like you're up again to give us our pharmacy services report.
Yeah. We're presenting the third quarter report for the pharmacy plan, and I'm just going to kind of go through some of the highlights of the plan. We realized over the last quarter about a 1.7% increase over the previous quarter in claim cost, which works out to about a 6.8% annual trend. That is really, really good compared to industry standards, which are about 9 to 12% right now out there in the marketplace. So yes, we're increasing in our prescription drug costs, but we are not increasing as fast as the marketplace is as well too. One of the opportunities that remain is still mail order. Because we have that Retail 90 program in place, under Retail 90 you can go to any retail drugstore, get a 90-day supply, rather than going through mail order. The difference, mail order gives us a substantial rebate, much greater than retail does. But yet, in the past, we've tried to incentivize by actually reducing co-payments for mail order, and to no avail, members have still gone to Retail 90, but there's an opportunity to do something in the future. This board has always been very kind to its members and not wanting to use a stick, but always kind of take a carrot approach. And so we'll see what we can come up with and come back to you on that, should that be a direction. Specialty drugs, like we all know, are increasing in their usage. 2 years ago, specialty drugs made up 32.7% of our drug spend. Now it's up to 46.3%. So it's just going up. And I was observing, right around, about 20 years ago, the drugs you saw advertised in print media and on TV and so forth, those were drugs that came in with a price above $100. About 10 years ago, those drugs that were advertised on TV were about $1,000 and higher in cost. And today, we find that the drugs that are being shown and you're asked to be recommended, they are over $10,000 oftentimes per script. So that'd be on a monthly basis, because most drugs are, specialty drugs are 30-day, well, there are a lot that are 90-day supply too. But it's a substantial cost increase, and that's where it's important that we partner with somebody who is really going to look out for that. I'm very pleased that we have Empirics as our partner there. They've done a good job. They've kept our trend line lower than, but specialty drug, I mean, at the end, it's the relationship between the member and their provider that really determines what prescription medication they take. So, the generic dispensing rate remains strong, so where generics are available, we're over 80%, so that's good on all fronts there. And I already talked about the rebates as well too, that they are strong and going to get stronger next year as well too, at 2.8 million. So that pretty much concludes the report on those are the highlights of the utilization report for prescription drugs. Are there any questions that I might be able to answer?
Yes.
So Borden, there was a gentleman that presented us with these cards saying that he can, basically get a lot of prescriptions at 80% less. So why don't you share what you know about this organization? Because, obviously I'm always open to a good deal, but if there's something that we've missed where we could have been providing 80% of savings, and I'm not going to be very happy, but go ahead.
Yeah. The discount cards are available in a variety of different forms, and it's a good product. Typically, if you have coverage, you're going to be advantaged that you'll be paying less because you're just paying the copayment. You're not paying the full amount. The discount card, I don't believe is going to be working with your copayment. This is the discount on the drug, and that's what you pay. We are actually, one of the things that we brought before the board, it was about a year ago.
Well, Borden, let me stop you
Yeah.
right there. So I understand that we all pay a copayment, but then that big cost for that drug, depending on what it is, $400, $500, $600, that's borne by us as the SJVIA, and then the individual pays their $35 copay or whatever it is. But if this card truly is able to discount certain drugs by 80%, even though the copay remains the same, then there's games that are being played. That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting at.
So, and the key word there is for certain drugs. If we can get an 80% discount on those drugs that are costing us $17,000 a month, that would be awesome.
If we can get it on insulin,
Yeah.
I mean, we're money ahead because we have a lot of individuals who are
Yeah.
diabetic. So I would say I would actually instruct you to find out where cards like this can be used, because there's no cost for anybody to use this card. It can be picked up off the street. But if the manufacturers out there and the pharmacies are willing to provide discounts, then they should provide discounts to us automatically too.
They do. Part of our relationship, and when we brought to you back in May and in the July board meeting, because we just did a PBM search, and part of that was looking at what the discount levels would be among the variety of different PBM vendors. And so there are discounts that are actually guaranteed within those programs already. And so I will take your instructions and do a comparative between discounts and so forth. A discount card is always good to have. The point that I was going to make was we are undertaking a campaign for both counties relative to, we have certain over-the-counter medications that are still covered under the plan. With the appropriate discount card, they can actually pay less than what their copayment is. And so one of the things before we make a recommendation to the board of no longer covering over-the-counter medications is to educate the membership to properly use a discount card. At that, with this communication piece, we are using a different discount card. It's called GoodRx. Some of you might have seen that advertised. And this is an alternative to GoodRx, basically. But we'll take a look at both of those and any other options that we might see under discount card arrangements and compare it to our plan, such that the board can have confidence in the program that we have or make the appropriate changes.
I have a good RX card for a prescription the doctor gave me, and the pharmacy I use regularly, it's always either or.
Yeah.
And they always say that the insurance is the better, less copay out of pocket. When I go to Costco, which I'm not trying to push for them, but they actually do some research, and it's actually varied for the same prescription between good RX,
Right.
insurance, or the Costco membership.
Right.
And they always run it 3 different ways, because depending if, I don't know, whatever kind of a program they have going. So my experience has been either or. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But even for the same prescription.
Yeah, and that's where I'm, one of the things we're trying to do is educate the membership of both. Thank you for that example, because that's exactly what we would prefer people do, is check with their discount cards, check with the plan what's best for them, and they should do that then. And typically that also means that it's best for the SJVI as well too.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions on this item? Okay, Borden, our next item is a report on marketing for pharmacy benefits manager consultant. And this is an action item.
Right. So one of the contracts that was coming up for renewal was our pharmacy benefit manager consultant, which is currently being done by Keenan Pharmacy Services. So we went out to bid. We encouraged 6 vendors to participate in it, which included obviously Keenan, Alliant Insurance Services, Aon, Hub International, Mercer, and Siegel. After the carriers responded, I should say, one of the vendors here, Aon, never responded, never participated in the process. The others, with the exception of KPS, all declined to provide us a quote, predominantly due to the fact that we were evaluating it. We worked very closely with staff to make sure that they were working with us along the way. So there was no necessarily a thought that KPS would change their numbers or change their offering and have a best and final. None of that occurred because we involved staff relative to that. So the only one we had to evaluate is KPS, which is fairly standard, that whoever the consultant is to the client also does the pharmacy consulting as well too. So with that, we evaluated the Keenan Pharmacy Services offering. They are going to be continuing to use. No additional services were asked for. They will continue to do the services that they have been doing, which is auditing empirics for our making sure that we have the appropriate prescription drug rebates, that we have performance guarantees in place with empirics relative to their discounting arrangement as well too, so that those discounts are realized, and if not, that we are paid appropriately. Not we, but SJVIA is paid appropriately on those discounts as well too, and that the program runs smoothly, claims are paid correctly, and so on and so forth. Because of the competitive nature that we started with, their proposal did come in with a discounted rate from what they're currently charging. So the SJVA looks to save about $50,000 from their current rate, bringing it down to about $107,000 is what the contract is worth. One of the areas that SJVI staff and myself both feel could be an area of improvement is in the area of transparency, giving us more detailed information relative to their auditing process, how many claims they're auditing on a quarterly basis, and so on and so forth. So the recommendation is that we renew with KPS for 1 year, and during that time, it will give them an opportunity to give a greater transparency to us, and so that we can feel more comfortable relative to the services that they provide as well too. Any questions?
Director Magsick?
So I can appreciate, staff's report and recommendation. Where I do have some concerns is where you go out to bid and there are no bidders. And typically, at least in the construction industry, that will take place if a lot of bidders don't even think they have an opportunity to compete. They think that maybe the current entity that's providing the consulting services kind of has things locked up. So I'll tell you, while I appreciate the discount that's being recommended, that is another red flag for me as well. So, transparency is important, and I can appreciate that we want to move in that direction. But, when you audit, if you audit your own numbers, I mean, you can make them say whatever you really want. So it's always good to have a third-party entity come in from time to time to really look at these things. So I need to look at staff. So I assume that you worked with Lupe as well as Hollis on this. And so when we put this out to bid, what kind of contact did we make with certain entities that we were hopeful would submit a bid to us in this space?
Yes, we made contact with one of our consultants, and they were considering submitting a bid, but again, the concern was the confidentiality and the transparency of Keenan Pharmacy seeing the bid before and then adjusting the numbers accordingly. So we worked a plan out for them where they would submit the proposal to us, to SJVIA, and not directly to
Right.
Keenan Pharmacy, so that way they would not see the bids or the proposals, and then we would submit the proposals all to them, to Keenan, once they've all been submitted. And these vendors still declined to participate.
And we had some of the same concerns, and then both Lupe and I were on the fence if we even wanted to continue with this type of a service, which is why you're seeing a one-year contract. I think that they can bring some good ideas, so we were gonna say, okay, let's give it a year and see how they do. If we don't feel that we're getting the bang for our buck, we're gonna come back and say we're not gonna continue this service.
Okay. And so ultimately, with the recommendation, then you're fully supportive of, clearly, just based upon what you've shared. And then moving forward, to make sure that we have a transparent process and encourage people to bid on contracts, whether they're in regards to pharmacy services or others, I hope that we're continuing to try to look at ways to encourage the marketplace. And while I have no issues with Keenan, I think you've done great. At the end of the day, making sure that we've got competition is very important too.
Yeah.
Any other questions? This is an action item,
Yes.
so I'll entertain a motion. Okay, motion by Supervisor McCarty.
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Vanderpool. Do we need a roll call? No. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Passes. Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you.
Item 12.
All right, my last one. So this is the stop loss. This is traditionally the reason you're together here in December, because we can't get the proposals together any sooner. This is your reinsurance program, and typically the reinsurance market wants to look at claims data at least 90 days from the effective date, the effective date being January 1. So they need claims data through September before they bid on it. So that's why the process is later than the normal renewals. We went out to bid to 20 markets, 20 reinsurers. We received quotes from 4 markets. Those markets had an increase, average between 24 and 50% increase. Your incumbent Granular came in with 29% originally. They backed down to 19.8%. And one of the reasons is obviously a lot of the high claims activity that they've seen, even though it hasn't necessarily pierced their reinsurance level, the concern about that, and then just general market conditions. It's been a tough year for reinsurance all the way around. And these reinsurers, as you can imagine, they're involved in not just health insurance, they're involved in a lot of different reinsurance aspects. So the recommendation is to accept the 19.8% increase to renew with the incumbent at the current level of $450,000. In our renewal that we prepared it with a 10% increase in cost. So 9.8% is not budgeted for. And the recommendation there is that we take that out of excess margin accumulation that we have, which works out to about $137,000.
So again, 16 of the 20 entities that we asked to submit bids, 16 declined.
Yes.
So again, I have concerns that regarding the same issue with the previous item. So we need to get more individuals interested in bidding on our stuff. And with what's being proposed, while I can appreciate you negotiating it down, it still is roughly a 9 to 10% increase overall, which is significant. And I don't want to be in the position where the SJVIA is ultimately paying for other insurance losses which have nothing to do with us, but just in the greater marketplace there are challenges out there. So
Right.
We need to get more entities bidding on this stuff.
I'll take that back. We do have, when we do a reinsurance marketing, we have a specific reinsurance division that it goes through. And so they truly scour the entire marketplace. It went out to 20. That's a big number. And we do this every year. We go out to those marketplaces, and the marketplaces knows that every year reinsurance is going to be shopped simply because of the volatility. You know, whether it's a hurricane on the East Coast, whether it's fires here in California, whether it's something global somewhere else in the world. If that reinsurer is an international reinsurer, then they're going to be impacted, and unfortunately, that's how they divide up risk. So, yeah, I appreciate the comments, and we will continue to strive to scour the market for the best opportunities that we possibly can get.
Any other questions? Okay, again, this is an action item, so I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve. Second.
Motion by Supervisor McCary with a second by Director Mendez. It's a Portuguese duo. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Passes. All right. Our last, well, not our last item, but our next to last item is Director questions, announcements, and activity reports. Anything there? Okay.
I'll just say I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season, and thank you for all that you do, and I'm glad to see that the SJVIA is in a much better position than we have been in the past, and I thank our consultants, thank our staff. I really appreciate all the proactive efforts that we're undertaking to really make a difference in our employees' lives.
Okay. Director McCary?
I just want to say thanks to staff and to Blue Cross for helping out. We had an issue with a claim, and you guys were all over it, and so I really want to thank you very much. I appreciate that. And everyone have happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
So are you basically coming out on the microphone saying you were one of those high claims that basically made us have a 111% loss ratio?
I was waiting for that.
You were the claim.
I was waiting for that.
Unfortunately, that's not even reflected in the numbers yet.
Yeah, it's not in here yet.
Merry Christmas.
Yes. All right. With that, meeting adjourned.